What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Renato Moicano and Gilbert believe Merab's resume is already better than Khabib's. During a recent discussion, Burns boldly claimed that Merab's body of work inside the UFC stands above the undefeated lightweight champions. He said, "Merab is better than Khabib. You can hate me all you want, but his resume is better. Pound for pound, prove me wrong." Burns went on to emphasize that Merab's consistent dominance over elite opponents, his incredible pace, and relentless wrestling make him one of the most complete fighters in the sport today. Moicano agreed with Burns, backing up the idea that Merab's recent run in the bantamweight division has been nothing short of spectacular. He pointed out that Merab's list of victories includes several top contenders and former champions, all beaten through pure grit and cardio unmatched by anyone else. Both fighters suggested that, while Khabib's undefeated record is impressive, the level of competition Merab has faced and the manner in which he's dominated puts him in rare company. Burns even added that you could argue Merab is the best fighter in the entire UFC right now, given how unstoppable he's looked in his recent performances. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Fiziev is pushing through a tough knee injury that forced him out of his scheduled fight with Carlos Ulberg at UFC Rio. Recently, Fiziev shared a video on social media showing himself undergoing shockwave therapy as part of his recovery process. Despite the setback, he seems to be staying positive and focused on getting back to full strength. The injury reportedly came from a go-karting incident. In the clip, someone can be heard joking about the crash, saying that Fiziev ended up getting T-boned during the ride. They laugh about it, mentioning how wild the whole thing looked, while Fiziev continues with his therapy. Even though he's clearly in discomfort, he appears to be taking it all in good spirits, smiling through the treatment. At one point, he's seen grabbing his neck and joking about how sore he's been for the past week. It's clear that the recovery process hasn't been easy, but Fiziev's determination and lighthearted attitude show just how mentally tough he is. Fans are hoping to see him make a full recovery soon and return to the octagon stronger than ever. Moving on to another news, Garry has made a bold promise ahead of his upcoming fight against Belal Muhammad at UFC Qatar. During a recent interview, Ian confidently stated that their fight will not be going to a decision. With absolute conviction, he said, "I'm just going to say it, this fight is not going the distance." When pressed further, he doubled down on his statement, making it clear that he fully intends to finish Belal inside the octagon. Ian laughed off the idea that the fight could reach the judges' scorecards, saying there's no chance, not in a million years. His confidence and focus remain unshakable as he looks to make a statement on fight night. Garry has often spoken about wanting to prove he's one of the most dangerous welterweights in the world, and at UFC Qatar, he plans to back up every word with a finish. Moving on to another news, Israel Adesanya believes Alex Pereira should defend his light heavyweight title next against Carlos Ulberg. Despite Jiri Prochazka's knockout win over Khalil Rountree at UFC 320, Adesanya feels Ulberg has earned his shot after his impressive performance in Perth, where he knocked out Dominic Reyes in dominant fashion. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Adesanya said he still thinks Carlos deserves the next title opportunity. "Good fight, crazy fight, but if it's Pereira again, they're probably going to give it to Carlos as they should," Adesanya said confidently. He added that Ulberg's momentum, skill, and style make him the right challenger for Pereira. "I like that matchup. Carlos versus Alex. That should be next." Adesanya and Ulberg are close teammates from City Kickboxing, and Izzy has been vocal about supporting Ulberg's rise through the ranks. He believes the timing is perfect for Carlos to step into a title fight, especially after stringing together an impressive win streak and showing calm, technical precision inside the cage. For Adesanya, Pereira versus Ulberg isn't just a fight, it's the matchup that makes the most sense for the division right now. Moving on to another news, Ray Longo, the longtime coach of Merab, shared his thoughts on what truly makes Merab such an exceptional fighter. According to Longo, it's not just about skills or athleticism, but about the intangibles, those qualities that can't be taught or trained. He explained that Merab's mindset, his confidence, and his relentless work ethic are what separate him from everyone else. "That's 100% it," Longo said. "It's the things you can't coach." Merab just loves what he's doing. He's passionate, focused, and mentally bulletproof. Longo went on to compare Merab's aura to that of Mike Tyson during his prime, saying that opponents can study him all they want, but once they're in there, it's a completely different experience. He recalled hearing Corey Sandhagen's coach say, "He's human too. He's going to get tired like everybody else." But Longo disagreed, saying, "Yeah, he'll get tired eventually, but can you make him more tired than you?" That's the real question. He emphasized how difficult that is, because Merab never stops pushing, even when the pace is exhausting. Longo highlighted that Merab is just too comfortable in the cage. He's calm, composed, and genuinely enjoys being in the fight. That's what makes him so dangerous. He's got a great outlook on life and fighting, Longo added. The more he fights, the more confident he gets. It's like every time he steps in there, he evolves. You can literally see it happening. He pointed out that Merab's striking has improved massively, noting that in his last fight, he opened up much more than before. 6 fights ago, he wouldn't have been that aggressive, even though he could have been, Longo explained. Now, he's methodical, but fearless. He takes smart risks at the right time, and that comes from confidence and experience. Longo believes Merab's comfort in chaos is what breaks opponents. From the outside, he might look normal, maybe even beatable on tape. But once you're in there with him, it's a completely different story. It's deceptive, Longo said. You look at footage and think you see openings, but when you're in the cage and he's still coming forward after you've thrown everything, it hits you. This guy doesn't slow down. He described the feeling of facing someone like Merab as suffocating, similar to being in a hard sparring session where your gas tank empties and the other guy just keeps pushing. That's the worst feeling in the world, Longo said. You're tired, you're trying to catch a breath, and he's right there, still moving, still attacking. That's what makes Merab special. He breaks people not just physically, but mentally. He loves every second of it, and that's something you can't teach. Moving on to another news, Arman is gearing up for his upcoming fight against Dan Hooker at UFC Qatar, but he recently made headlines after sharing his thoughts on a potential matchup between Paddy Pimblett and Ilia. During his appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, Arman was asked if he believes Paddy could ever defeat Ilia in a fight, and his response was as blunt as it gets. No way. Arman made it clear that in his opinion, Ilia is on another level, and Paddy wouldn't stand a chance against him. He said he sees himself as the only lightweight who can beat Ilia, which he believes is exactly why the UFC hasn't pushed for that fight yet. According to Arman, the promotion knows that if they match the two up too soon, it could derail their plans. Just me can beat Ilia, he said confidently. Everybody knows that. Even the UFC knows that, and that's why they're trying to keep us apart right now. Arman explained that he feels the UFC is intentionally building Ilia's star power while keeping him away from dangerous matchups. He added that once he takes care of business against Hooker, the UFC won't be able to ignore him anymore. If I go out there and perform very well, if I finish Hooker, they cannot avoid me anymore, he said. Arman's focus is clear. He wants to make a statement in Qatar and prove he deserves a title shot. When asked if he believes he needs a spectacular finish to make himself undeniable, Arman didn't hesitate. I have to, he said. I have to show that I'm ready for the title and that I deserve to be there. He emphasized that his goal isn't just to win, but to dominate, to leave no doubt that he's the best lightweight in the world and the rightful next challenger. Throughout the interview, Arman spoke with confidence, but also with a sense of calm determination. He believes his skill set, pace, and experience make him a nightmare matchup for anyone, including Ilia. While he respects what Ilia has accomplished so far, Arman believes their fight is inevitable, and when it happens, he'll be the one to hand Ilia his first defeat. For now, his attention is fully on Dan Hooker, but Arman made it clear that his ambitions don't stop there. He wants the title, he wants the toughest fights, and most importantly, he wants Ilia. And if he delivers a dominant performance in Qatar, the UFC might have no choice but to finally make that fight happen. Moving on to another news, Kamaru Usman has shared his thoughts on why he wants to see a trilogy fight between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. According to Usman, both fighters have unfinished business, and the third fight would finally settle who the true king of the division is. He explained that neither Pereira nor Ankalaev gave their best performances in their previous encounters, and that's what makes the trilogy so compelling. Usman said that there were things going on behind the scenes in both of their camps, and that affected how each man performed. He mentioned that Pereira wasn't at his best during his loss, and similarly, Ankalaev didn't perform to his full potential when he dropped the title. This is for all the marbles, Usman said passionately. You have to govern yourself. I don't care what's going on behind closed doors. When it's time for a trilogy fight, you have to get yourself in there as healthy as possible, because this is it. There are no excuses. He pointed out that fans often hear about fighters' issues only after a loss, but those details never come up when someone wins. Usman believes that the final fight between Pereira and Ankalaev would need to be about pure skill, discipline, and preparation. No excuses, no distractions. "This is part of what makes our job so hard," he said. "You have to take care of your body, your mind, and show up ready to go. That's what separates the greats from everyone else." Usman went on to discuss the timing of such a fight, noting that the rumored UFC White House card isn't until June, which gives both men plenty of time to recover and prepare. "We're in the beginning of October right now," he explained. "That's about 8 months away. The question is, will Pereira be willing to wait that long for another shot, or will he want to fight sooner? We'll have to see how that plays out." He also gave Ankalaev his flowers, praising him as one of the most complete fighters in the light heavyweight division. "I think Ankalaev is extremely talented," Usman said. "He's one of the most well-rounded guys in that division, if not the most well-rounded. His wrestling, striking, and fight IQ are all top tier." While Usman is strongly in favor of the trilogy, he also mentioned that if the UFC decides to move in another direction, a fight between Ankalaev and Garry would be an incredible matchup as well. "If we don't get Pereira versus Ankalaev 3, then Ankalaev versus Garry is a damn good fight too," he said. "But personally, I'd love to see the trilogy. That fight would have everything: skill, power, and legacy on the line." Moving on to another news, TJ Dillashaw has revealed that Patchy Mix was dealing with several problems before his fight at UFC 320. Mix came up short once again last weekend, losing to Yakov Akwach via split decision. The defeat now drops him to 0-2 in the UFC. Speaking on the Jackson podcast, Dillashaw shared that Mix had been battling multiple issues during fight week, including a rough weight cut and even a staph infection. TJ said he got some inside info because he was actually there during fight week. According to him, Mix cuts a lot of weight, and it really takes a toll on his body. He mentioned that Mix tends to get quite big between fights, and when it's time to cut down, it becomes an extreme process. TJ added that Mix might be pushing himself too hard during training camps, possibly breaking his body down before even getting into the cage. Dillashaw described the situation in detail, saying that after the early morning weigh-ins, which usually happen around 9 a.m., fighters typically rehydrate and rest up before the ceremonial weigh-ins later in the day, but in Mix's case, things didn't look good at all. TJ said that around the time of the ceremonial weigh-ins, when fighters should be feeling refreshed and energetic, Mix was actually lying on the ground, looking completely drained, almost like he was still cutting weight. TJ went on to explain that he saw Mix heading to the bathroom and later found out that he had been throwing up ever since the morning weigh-ins. He couldn't keep anything down and was clearly sick. Dillashaw mentioned that while part of it might have been nerves, the situation was serious enough to impact his ability to rehydrate properly. On top of that, Mix revealed he had been dealing with a staph infection for about 2 weeks leading up to the fight and had been taking antibiotics. According to TJ, that combination of sickness, antibiotics, and a brutal weight cut completely drained Mix's energy and endurance. He said that being on antibiotics naturally affects cardio and overall stamina, which clearly showed in the fight. Despite that, it was still a close battle, one that could have gone either way. But with all the issues Mix faced leading up to UFC 320, it's clear his performance was heavily affected by what was happening behind the scenes. Moving on to another news, Frankie Edgar is still getting paid for BKFC 82, even though he didn't end up fighting. The 43-year-old veteran was originally scheduled to face Jimmy Rivera last weekend, but the fight was pulled at the last moment after the organization's medical team raised serious concerns about his health. Frankie, who was finished in his last 3 UFC appearances before moving to bare-knuckle competition, was understandably disappointed by the cancellation. However, BKFC president David Feldman confirmed that Frankie will still receive full payment despite not stepping into the ring. In an interview with MMAfighting.com, Feldman explained the situation, saying that Frankie might be upset with the promotion, and rightfully so, but the organization made the decision with his best interest in mind. He emphasized that fighter safety always comes first, especially with the growing discussions around CTE and long-term brain health in combat sports. Feldman said, "He's getting a very respectable check. I don't think he's mad at us for that. I think he's mad at us because we took away an opportunity from him, but sometimes you have to save fighters from themselves." He went on to clarify that it wasn't necessarily about saving Frankie from himself permanently, but rather about ensuring that he didn't step into the ring that particular night under unsafe conditions. Feldman revealed that the medical team simply wasn't prepared to clear him to fight, and from their perspective, the risk wasn't worth the potential reward. He said that if there's interest from both sides, they'll definitely revisit the possibility of Frankie competing again in the future. Feldman also touched on the growing concerns and potential legal challenges surrounding fighter safety, CTE, and how commissions and promoters are being held accountable for the long-term health of athletes. He admitted that these factors influenced the BKFC's decision to pull Frankie from the event. "When we do anything, we always weigh the risk and reward," Feldman said. In this case, the reward didn't outweigh the risk, and that's why we made that call. Despite the cancellation, Feldman praised Frankie's professionalism and dedication leading up to the event. He explained that Edgar had been completely cooperative, doing everything the promotion asked of him. He promoted the fight, went to every appearance, did all the interviews, and even hosted a watch party at his dad's or uncle's bar, Feldman said. He really went above and beyond to help us, so of course he had to be taken care of. Feldman also shared how the fan response to the cancellation reassured him that the promotion made the right decision. When news broke that the fight was off, the overwhelming majority of comments were positive, with fans thanking BKFC for prioritizing fighter safety instead of criticizing them for pulling the fight. When I saw 99% of fans saying thank you for looking out for Frankie, that really made me feel good about it, Feldman said. It confirmed that we made the right call.
That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.